We go. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of Ed Talk with Pastor Strick. I am your host, Pastor Strick, and I am so excited to be with you today. I hope you are ready for today's episode of Ed Talk because I certainly am. I believe that I am going to have the opportunity to share some things with you that if you listen and you implement them in your life can absolutely take your professional life onto the next level for where you want it to be. Listen, I'm Pastor Strick, and I'm your host of Ed Talk. And as you know, here on Ed Talk, we come together each week to blend the realms of knowledge, instruction, and faith with real world solutions. And so whether you're on a quest seeking to expand your knowledge base, uplift your soul, or maybe you're just here to find some common ground between the practical and the spiritual, I need you to know that you are in the right place. And because you are in the right place, I need you to help me get some other people in the right place. That's right. You know what I want you to do? I want you to please help me with some social media outreach. What does that mean? I want you to like or love this particular broadcast. If you're watching right now, I want you to tag your friends, tag your family members. Listen, if you know other women or you know people who happen to be in the minority who are in the workplace, I'm telling you, today's session is for them. I have been debating whether to do this particular Ed Talk for some time, but I've been having this private conversation with so many different people that I decided to just go ahead and just do it right here on Ed Talk. And so if you got friends, family members who you know are employees, and I'm really talking to employees today, not necessarily those of you who are entrepreneurs who own your own business and those kind of things, you probably can get something out of this, but I am specifically talking to those individuals who are employees, those people who work for somebody else. And especially if you struggled with the idea of how do I get promoted, or how do I advance my career, or how do I show up, or why do I keep getting overlooked? I'm going to talk to you today, not about hard skills, because I know you're smart. I know you're talented. I know you're gifted. But I'm going to share with you today 6 laws that I believe that absolutely govern success in the workplace. And they are soft skills. They are things that you have to learn. They don't necessarily come to you naturally. And I believe sometimes for women and for minorities, we don't always have the right mentors or the right guides to help us understand the nuances of what it takes to move in certain spaces. And so I'm going to be talking about that today. So if you got friends or family members out there who you think would benefit, I'm telling you, go ahead and tag them right now. Get them over here so we can get started. Also, just a reminder, there's multiple ways in which you can contact and be in connection with Ed Talk. You can go to the YouTube page, which is www.pastorstrick.com. You can connect with me on Facebook there at facebook.com/Ed Talk with Pastor Strick, all one word. If you love to listen on the podcast, that's fine too. You go to www.pastorstrickpodcast.com and you can pick out whichever platform you like using. I'm on multiples of multiple platforms. And so if you like listening to the podcast, that's great. If you're a visual person, you like seeing the comments, you like seeing me as I talk, then absolutely join me on Facebook or YouTube. Okay. All right. Today I want to talk about the 6 laws that govern success in the workplace. The 6 laws that govern success in the workplace. I'm not going to take all day to do this. We're going to jump right into it because I believe this is vitally important. I didn't say this, but if you're watching live, go ahead and let me know where you're watching from. If you're watching this on a replay, you can hashtag the word replay. Otherwise, you can hash the word live and the city you're watching from. Listen, today's Ed Talk isn't merely about understanding some age-old laws, okay? It is actually a clarion call for you so that you can distill the essence of what these laws mean so that you can wield them in the right way with righteousness and integrity in order for you to get a step ahead in your professional career. So today we're going to embark on this thought-provoking exploration that will not only introduce you to these 6 laws for success. And I'm not saying it's just 6. I'm saying these are the 6 things that I have found that have worked for me. There are 6, and I call them laws because you know that a law is basically a principle that works for anybody. A law doesn't care whether you're male or female. A law doesn't care whether you are short or tall. It doesn't care if you're fat or skinny. It doesn't care if you're black or white. Gravity is a law, right? And gravity works the same way on all of us. And so these are 6 laws that I have found that when you learn to implement them, they can actually have a profound trajectory on your career path. Again, I'm talking to employees today, okay? And so our goal today is to discuss and master some of these complex dynamics that govern our workplaces. And you can apply these to your relationships and even personal growth. The wisdom that we're going to set forth to understand and unearth today is not just information. Hear me when I say this. I didn't come here today to just give you some information. I came here to hold up a mirror, right? So that if I hold up this mirror and you can see that maybe some of these things you have been neglecting, maybe some of these things you've never been taught, maybe some of these things you never heard of, that if you can begin to implement them in your life, you will begin to see your professional career take off. People have asked me all the time, and sometimes you do things and you don't realize why you're doing them. Right? You just know sometimes intuitively or through the Holy Spirit, in my case, that there are certain things you should do. And then you look back and you go, oh, that's why that worked out. People have asked me things like, well, how did you get out of teaching? And how did you get out of school administration? And how did you get into the corporate environment? And how did you get promoted so fast in that environment? And the truth of the matter is, it's not because I was so intelligent. It's not because I was smarter than the next guy. It's not that I had some talent that other people didn't have. One of the things I learned to do, and you can learn to do, is to hone in on your soft skills. You have to improve your soft skills. I was having a conversation with my 24-year-old son and my 17-year-old daughter. And one of the things I was explaining to them is that it really doesn't matter how talented you are, because there's a lot of talented people. There are a lot of talented people in the world. But when you stop and you sit back and you start asking HR managers and you start asking people who are in the people industry and people who work in culture at various companies, one of the things they'll tell you is they'll take someone who is less talented, who has these soft skills, over someone who doesn't have these soft skills, who may be more talented in doing a job. Why? Because they can teach you to do the job. It's sometimes more difficult to teach people these soft skills when they are in the midst of the job. And so today we're going to be talking about how do you develop some of these soft skills. And there are 6 laws around it. And I really want you to grab a pen and paper. I really want you to listen today. I really want you to understand that what I'm telling you is that you don't have to be the person who's keep getting passed over for a promotion. You don't have to be the person who they keep giving more work to and less money to. That doesn't have to be you. But if you don't understand how to navigate a corporate environment, if you don't know how to navigate the workplace, if you don't know the nuances behind it, then those who do will always be superseding you. Okay? So these laws that we're going to talk about today are a collection of strategic tools, right? And these tools have been entrusted to us to be used with prudence and profound respect. Some of the things I talked to you about today, you may in your mind go, well, that sounds kind of manipulative. No, it's not manipulative. It is understanding human dynamics. It is understanding social context. It is understanding corporate environment. And again, you want to use these tools with prudence and with righteousness and with integrity. But if you don't learn to use them, other people will, and they will be out succeeding you in the workplace. Okay? And so as we traverse these teachings today, let us remain vigilant of the immense power that we actually have at our fingertips, power that demands a responsible and ethical application of these tools. Okay? So with all that being said, with our hearts wide open, with our minds ready to be challenged, let's spend the next 30 to 40 minutes and let's step forward into this journey. Let us reshape these ancient wisdom tools that we have available to us. Let us use them in innovative and strategic ways that can propel us towards success. If you're out there, you're listening, and you're ready, I need you to put in the comment section, I'm ready. Let me know that you are ready. And when I see that, we will get ready to go to law number 1. So somebody let me know that you are ready. We're talking about the 6 laws. I'm going to give you 6 of them. 6 laws that govern success in the workplace. Okay, 6 laws that govern success in the workplace. I see y'all are ready. Let's talk about number 1. Okay, law number 1. Law number 1 is always, and I'm saying this as emphatically as I can, always empower your leaders. Always empower your leaders. What do I mean? This particular law emphasizes respecting and learning from those in authority while simultaneously pursuing your own career goals and your own success. It is also about making those above you, hear me, feel supported and appreciated, which in turn will empower your own career progression. One of the things I learned very early on is that I had one job in my job, no matter what that job was, and that was to make my superior look good. Okay. A lot of people have a problem with that. They're like, I'm just here to do my job. No, you're not. No, you're not. Part of your career progression will depend on how well you can empower those above you, those in leadership above you. If you think about it, it's the expectation you have for your subordinates. If you are in the people business and you are a people manager, you want to make sure that those people who are reporting to you feel supported in a way that they want to make you look good. And in turn, that's what you should be doing for your leader as well. Now, understand, this involves understanding and adapting to the leadership dynamics within any group or organizational context. It involves fostering a culture of mutual respect and growth. Am I asking you to go to your job and be a lackey? Absolutely not. What I'm saying to you is that if you don't understand this law number 1, that it's always important for you to understand the value of empowering your leader, then you miss out on creating situations and opportunities that as your leader progresses, you can progress with them. Or even if your leader doesn't want to progress because you spent time making them look good, doing good quality work, and we'll talk about that, then when opportunities for promotion arise, your name gets to be spoken in the room that you don't currently have access to. Understand that by supporting and appreciating your leaders, those who you report to, you not only enhance your relationship with them, but you also position yourself for upward mobility. This dynamic of mutual respect and support contributes to personal career development as well as overall organizational success. If your job is to empower your leader, if your job is to make your boss look good, and I used to say it in these terms, you never want to outshine the master. Right? You never want to outshine the person who has the ability to speak your name in rooms where you're not in, the person who has the ability to determine the quality of your evaluation. You want to be seen as a support person, not competition. Okay? And you need to understand that. Yes, you may be smarter than your boss. Yes, you may know more than your boss. Yes, you may have had more years of experience and maybe even more degrees. But if you want to be promoted, if you want to have the opportunity to climb that corporate ladder, one of the key laws you must understand is that your role is to always empower your leader. This dynamic of mutual respect and support contributes to personal career development. An example of this would be consistently aligning your project goals with the strategic objectives of the organization or the goals of your superior. In the last position I had, I came in during a time in which they had massive change happening. I was working at NWEA and they were getting ready to be bought by Houghton Mifflin. And there were a lot of changes going on. And in that position, I was asked, as I was taking over this new team, what my 30, 60, and 100-day goals were. And one of the things that I did is I went to my superior, and then I went to his superior to find out what their goals were during the transition. And I can't tell you that how something that simple put me in a light different than so many of the managers and senior directors who had been there for years. Why? Because I understood that if I was going to have these goals and objectives, they needed to be tied into my supervisor. And that even if his weren't tied into his supervisor, it gave him the opportunity to tie his in so that we were seamless together. By doing that, that created a new way in which I was seen in the organization, even though I was new. Why? Because I understood law number one, which is that you always want to empower your leaders. And this is not just true at work. This is true in any social setting you're in, whether you're in a Greek letter fraternity, whether you're in church, whether you're in Jack and Jill, whether you're in some other social organization, whether you're in Kiwanis, whether you're in the Lions Club. You want to be the person who is working to empower the leader. Another example would be if you were a project manager, actively seeking feedback from senior management while simultaneously leading a team initiative. That puts you in the light. A lot of people say, well, I don't want management responsibility. I don't want to be responsible. If you don't want to have management responsibility, if you don't want to be the person who is in the position of making a decision, then you can't expect to grow in the organization. You can't expect to get $20,000 and $30,000 raises. You can't expect to get yourself in a position where you have the opportunity to get 20, 30, 40, even 50% of your salary in bonuses every year. Those types of positions, those types of rewards and compensation comes to people who are willing to understand how to make the organization better. All right. So rule number one, you have to always empower the leader. Okay. Make sure you are empowering your leader. Does that mean you have to dummy down what you're doing? Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. And when we talk about these other 5 laws, you're going to see how all of this ties in to you being able to empower your leader without losing yourself. Okay. Because let's talk about law number 2. Because while you want to always empower your leader, you also want to make sure that you are doing law number 2. Which is you do not want to be afraid. Do not be afraid to strategically showcase your talents, okay? Do not be afraid to strategically showcase your talents. What do I mean by that? Making your achievements visible to key decision makers, especially during pivotal moments, is crucial for your career advancement. I can't tell you the number of people who I have seen who had the opportunity to shine in front of the CEO, to shine in front of the COO, to make a suggestion to the chief technology officer, to mention the fact that they came up with an idea that helped the company save millions of dollars, right? Hear me. Visibility in the workplace is crucial for career goals. You cannot be a person who hides. If you want your career to advance, you have to be willing to showcase your talents. You have to be willing to understand when is the appropriate time for you to be visible. This is not some ideology about having significance and saying people need to know who I am. It's about being strategic. It's important to recognize the moments when demonstrating your skills can have the most impact, such as doing meetings with senior management or on projects that are highly visible to the organization. Why am I talking about this? Because I have lots of people who talk to me all the time about why they aren't getting promoted, why they're being left behind when it comes to new opportunities in the workplace. And the people who I have had one-on-one sessions with, and I may get some of them to come on and do a panel discussion with me in the future. The people who I've had these discussions with who have embraced this have tremendously changed the trajectory of their career path. Why? Because these soft skills, while it may not sound sexy, right? They are so nuanced in what you do every day that it causes you to be like the cream that rises to the top. And so it's important to recognize those moments. Career progression oftentimes depends on how visible your contributions are to those who make the decisions. I'm going to say that again. Your career progression, so many times, it depends on how visible your contributions are to those who make key decisions. You may be one of the hardest workers at your company, but does anybody know it? You may have some of the best ideas at your company, but does anybody know it? Have you used those skills and talents and ideas to empower your leader, to make your leader shine? So that as your leader shines, they want to keep bringing you with them. And when you have those opportunities, when the leader brings you with them, do you shrink back, or do you understand when is the appropriate time to let the CEO know, hey, this was my idea. This is something that we're working on. Do you understand how to have those conversations so that you illuminate yourself, but you don't put your leader down at the same time? And a lot of people don't have those nuances, and you have to learn them if you're going to be successful in the workplace. This could mean taking the lead in some high stakes project. It could mean presenting your achievements during a strategic meeting. It could mean getting the opportunity to be able to get your team who reports to you to talk about how your goals match with your leader and how you were working to support them. For instance, maybe you got an employee who might spearhead an initiative that saves the company thousands of dollars. Making sure you communicate these results during times of executive briefings to gain the recognition and potentially secure a promotion is vital. People sometimes see this as self-promotion, but you need to understand that there is an element, hear me, of self-promotion in order to make your career go to the next level. Okay? It is so vastly important. For instance, there are times that this can be difficult. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it just like this because it's true. When we talk about not being afraid to strategically showcase your talents, there are nuances to this that impact women and minorities a little different. Okay? There are, and I'll say it like this, there are some challenges for women and minorities that others in the majority may not encounter when trying to showcase their talents. So not only do you have to be skilled and nuanced to know when to do it, you also have to be aware that beyond your own control, there may be some things in play that you also have to know in order to overcome, because at the end of the day, you still have to showcase your skills and talents. So let's talk about a couple of those. If you are a woman, or if you're a minority, you're in corporate, you're in business, you're an employee, right? I don't care if you're working in the hospital, I don't care if you're working in the school, I don't care if you're working in an attorney's office. I don't care whether you're in a Fortune 500 company, you're working for Walmart, one of the thousands of vendors who supply them, or Target, or any of the big box retailers. Listen, you have to understand that you still need to be able to do law number one, which is to empower your leader. And you still need to do number two, which is strategically showcase your skills and talents. But you also need to know that sometimes there are barriers. But just because it's a barrier doesn't stop you from getting over it. So let's talk about it. Number one, sometimes there are structural barriers. What are structural barriers? Well, many workplaces, depending on where they are and who they are, they have deep-rooted structures and cultures that may not actively support the visibility of women and minorities. This could be due to a lack of representation in leadership positions at the company, which could perpetuate a cycle where those in the decision-making roles are more likely to recognize and promote individuals who resemble themselves. This concept is a concept known as similarity bias. This can sometimes make it difficult for women and for minorities to find the right mentors and advocates within higher echelons of the organization. It doesn't mean that it's not possible. It is absolutely possible, but you have to be aware of the structural barriers. And when you are aware of the structural barrier, then you can devise a plan to work around it. Kia says, as a Black woman and I'm a restaurant manager, my passion for service and hospitality is often mistaken for aggression. And I hate that. Kia, we're going to talk about that here in just a moment, okay? Because it plays into the next barrier that we have to be aware of, which is stereotypes and biases, okay? Stereotypes about gender and race can also influence how the contributions of women and minorities are perceived and valued. It's just the truth. For example, women often face a double bind where being assertive is concerned, because being assertive is necessary for making one's achievements known. But it can also be perceived, especially when you're dealing with similarity bias, it can be perceived negatively, contrasting with traditional gender expectations of women who are supposed to be quote unquote passive and supportive. Similarly, minorities may encounter stereotypes that undermine their professional capabilities and their accomplishments, or they may feel the need to counteract the pervasive negative stereotype, which adds pressure to performance exceptionality. Now, what is performance exceptionality? I don't know if you heard it, but I certainly did growing up. And I understand why my parents and grandparents said what they said. But this idea of performance exceptionality says things like this. It's the whole idea that we have to be twice as good to be considered equal. Has anybody ever heard that? Has anybody ever grown up hearing you got to be twice as good just to be seen as the same? Well, those stereotypes still exist. And in some companies and some organizations, because of similarity bias, because of this idea that over time, people in positions have promoted other people who look like them, who behave like them. Well, the truth of the matter is, and I'm not trying to be funny, I learned to behave like them. And when I learned to behave like them, the stereotypes and the biases kind of went out the window, right? It also helped that I was a male because there were males in the decision-making role. So even though I may not have been a white male, there were white males making the decisions. And because those white males was making those decisions, and because sometimes I was able to temper my behavior, my behavior to mirror theirs, they forgot I was black. I'm just going to tell you, they did. And so then similarity bias began to work on my behalf. They saw me like them, okay? And so you have to find ways and you have to find avenues in which you can overcome these structural biases so that you can overcome these stereotypes and these biases. And then the third thing, you have to also understand what it means to have safe spaces. In some organizations, there is a lack of safe opportunities or safe spaces. What do I mean? I mean that in some organizations, when you're trying to let your skills and your talent show, in some organizations, in some organizational cultures, women and minorities may not feel safe or even encouraged to speak up and take credit for their work. I can't tell you the number of times I've been on a team and a woman came up with something ingenious for our team. Okay. And when it came time to report that out, sometimes she was given the opportunity to share it with the broader group, and she shrunk back and didn't share it. It said, no, you go ahead, you can do it. Okay. And maybe the leader didn't necessarily want to do it. So he asked somebody if they wanted to do it. And then there's always a Chad on the team who didn't put in any work, but who wants to be the person up presenting what the team did. But when Chad presents it as his idea, as something he came up with and how the team worked together and how he led the team, even though Chad didn't do any of the work or Karen didn't do any of the work. And what happens to Chad or Karen? They get promoted. Why? Because they are seen as the person who is the leader. They are seen as the person who's outgoing. Similarity bias begins to kick in for Chad and for Karen. And the idea of stereotypes, man, listen, I can't tell you what I have seen. I can't tell you what I have seen. And we have to learn how to work through these things, okay? Why? We have to have these safe spaces, which brings me to my next point, which is that we need to seek out networks, okay? Because sometimes challenges of finding the right mentor or the right right advocate can be a problem. Networking plays a crucial role in career development. I can't stress to you this enough. When I was young in my career, and I'm going to say it just like this, I'm going to slow down and just explain it. When I was young in my career, I had this one thought. I'm going to work. I'm going to do a heck of a job. Okay. And I'm going to make sure I'm doing the best job I could do. And when I left teaching, when I left admin at the school level, and I got involved in the corporate arena, where we were working with SAS companies, services sales, and we were having to sell to clients, okay, in a corporate environment. They used to ask me all the time to go out to dinner. They would ask me all the time to go golfing. They would ask me all the time to go out to these outings. And I would think, man, I don't want to be with those people. I'm just here to do my job. I'm just here to do my job. And I had a mentor pull me to the side. And a mentor told me, they said, listen, I know you may not like going to those dinners. I know you may not like to work all day and then go to happy hour from 5 to 7. I know you may not like to sit around and talk shop with these people. She said, but these are the individuals who would be making the decision about your career. And if you're not at the table during those times, your name won't be at the table when it comes time for promotion. And it was the absolute best advice I ever got. Because when I started going to those god awful, cocktail hours, I had to do it, and I had to put on the right attitude. I had to put on the smile, and I had to learn to work the room, and I had to learn to talk, and I had to learn to be involved, and I had to learn to ask people about their lives and let them know what I was doing and what I was working on and how we could collaborate and set up a time to get on their calendar so we could just talk. And sometimes it wasn't even about anything. It was just about being visible. It was about networking. Because then I found other people who were willing to support and talk about my name in rooms that I didn't have access to. Is this making sense to anybody? Understand, these networks sometimes can be informal, like after work gatherings or golf games, which may not be accessible sometimes or welcoming to women and minorities, either due to cultural norms, responsibilities of outside work, or the feeling of being excluded or being the only one there. And those were things I had to get over. I had to get over that I was the only black guy in the room. I had to get over that I did not like golf. I much would have preferred if we could have went and shot hoops. But people aren't making decisions, right? Power decisions about promotions over a basketball game. They're doing it at golfing outings. They're doing it at these shindigs they have after work. And if you don't understand the nuances of that, and you're an employee and you're wanting to be promoted and you want to be seen as the next senior director, the next VP or the next EVP, you are going to have to learn to play the dance. You're going to have to learn to play the dance. Okay. So law number 1, just so we're clear, we said you need to always make sure you're empowering the leader. Okay. Law number 2, we said you should not be afraid to strategically showcase your talents. You got to find a way to do it in spite of the barriers, in spite of structural barriers, in spite of stereotypes and biases, in spite of the lack of safe opportunities sometimes. And even though you may not have all the proper networks, you got to learn to find them. Find yourself a mentor, find yourself an advocate. There are people who will absolutely advocate for you, but you got to build a relationship. Nietzsche said relationships matter. That's exactly right. Here's law number 3. Seek mastery and excellence and reject mediocrity. I can't tell you the number of people who want to just go to work and just do their job. Going to work and just doing your job will not get you promoted. Going to work and just doing your job and keeping the status quo will not get you recognized. Going to work and seeking to do just enough to get paid what they're paying you will not be enough for you to climb the corporate ladder. Law number 3 encourages us to be on an ongoing commitment to excellence and continuous improvement in whatever your field is in. Law number 3 promotes the pursuit of the highest standards in any endeavor, driving you to constantly improve and redefine what is considered excellence in your field. Whatever you're doing today that is excellent, you should be looking to improve it next month. Whatever you have to ask yourself right now on your job, whatever your job is, when is the last time you made an improvement in your work product? When is the last time your supervisor came to you to thank you for doing something above and beyond? Now, there's a difference here. I want you to hear me, because sometimes what happens with people is they do law number 3, but they don't understand law number 2 and law number 1, and they get trapped in what I call the workhorse position. What is the workhorse position? The workhorse position is the person who takes on more and more work. They do it better and better and better. And before you know it, all they do is have their head down, doing work better and better, pushing out product. But because no one knows they in the organization, they're the one that's doing it. Because they're not necessarily strategic about empowering the leader so that the leader understands you need me on your team, they become the workhorse. They become the one that gets all the work. And then the Chads and the Karens of the world, they're the ones who end up getting invited into the boardrooms. They're the ones who gets invited to do strategic presentations. They're the one who gets to talk doing team meetings. And people assume that Chad and Karen had all the knowledge and Chad and Karen were the ones doing all the work. And so Chad and Karen gets promoted while you continue to be the workhorse. So there's nuance to this. There's nuance to it. You want to seek mastery. You want to seek excellence, and you want to reject mediocrity, but you want to do it simultaneously as making sure that you're showcasing your skills and talents and that people know that it's you who are doing it. You want to always aim for the highest level of preparation. I tell people all the time, I live by the 7 Ps. Okay. What are the 7 Ps? It means that prior proper planning will prevent a pitiful poor performance. Okay. I live by the 7 Ps. You should always be over planning. You should over prepare. Why? Because prior proper planning prevents a pitiful poor performance. You should live by those 7 Ps. You should aim for the highest level of preparation and performance in all of your endeavors, seeking to set new standards every time you're doing a new task or a new project. Whether you're an artist, perfecting your craft, whether you're a scientist, conducting cutting-edge research, or maybe you're even a teacher developing new and engaging curriculum. Striving for mastery ensures you set new benchmarks in your profession. It ensures it. And so whether you are a developer creating innovative software solutions, or maybe you're a marketer creating compelling campaigns, the aim is to become a benchmark of quality and innovation. If you want to get promoted, you have to be seen as a benchmark of quality and innovation. These are the things that you should be teaching your team. These are the things you should be reminding yourself of as you're serving your supervisor. Okay? Here's a practical example of this in a professional context. If you are an employee, you should be constantly updating your skills and knowledge through continuing education. I know people don't like professional development. I know people don't like going to CTE classes, those continual education classes, but you should always be looking at ways to upgrade your knowledge base. I know that Lemoyne was on here earlier. He may still be on here. He owns multiple businesses, but one of them is his State Farm business. The people who work for him, the people he has entrusted to help him run the organization, should be always looking to upgrade their skill. Why? Because when they upgrade their skill, they're upgrading not only their personal skill, but they're upgrading the skills that can be used in the organization. As the organization grows, their opportunities grow. As they always empower the leader, right? As they are always making sure that they are showcasing their skills and talents, as they are always making sure they're seeking mastery and rejecting mediocrity, everybody wins. Okay. Again, these are the soft skills that so many, now I don't want to be one of those old men talking about the millennials and the Gen Zs and all that, but I can't tell you the number of people who are saying that they have so many employees who are coming to them who simply do not have these soft skills. They may have made straight A's in college. They may be industrial engineers who graduated magna cum laude, but they do not have the social skills in which to operate when you have to work with multiple people in an organizational context. And I'm telling you, it is the reason that so many people are not getting promoted when they should be, because they're not the people who are in the rooms, who are making the right connections. They're not the people in the room who are having their work product seen and being recognized. They're not the ones who stand out. They're not the ones who come to top of mind. Okay? Let's talk about law number 4. Law number 4. This one is critical. You need to understand what motivates other people. If you work in a corporate environment, you need to understand what motivates other people. You really, really need to understand how this works. Law number 4 involves more listening than doing. I'm going to say that again. Law number 4 involves more listening than doing. Law number 4 is about observing other people's behaviors. It's about empathizing with other people's challenges and understanding their aspirations. Developing a deep understanding of what drives people, including their needs and aspirations, allows for a stronger, more empathetic relationship. And people love to support people they are in relationship with. By understanding the motivation of your colleagues, by understanding the motivation of your clients, and even your superiors, you can have a tailor-made approach to meet their needs and to build stronger, more effective relationships. I can't tell you the number of times I got promoted because my supervisor got promoted. I got promoted because my supervisor got promoted. Why? Because my supervisor understood that their promotion was a direct relationship to how I supported them. I understood what motivated them. As a leader, you have to understand this. Everybody's not motivated by money. I know you may think they are, but I had a team that I worked for one time, and I tried to motivate them through bonuses. They were not motivated through bonuses. They were already high wage earners. They really didn't care about an extra $10,000, $20,000. They didn't care about that. But you know what they really, really loved? They loved when we had the company-wide team meeting, and it was my opportunity to give my report, that I started my report by naming those people on my team who had made significant contributions to our team in that month. They loved it. They loved it. And once I understood that, once I understood what motivated them, I found ways in the newsletter. I found ways through corporate-wide emails. I found all kinds of ways to give them what they needed in order to motivate them to keep doing what they were doing and taking it to a higher level. To foster strong and empathetic relationships, it is crucial to grasp what drives people. People say, well, that seems manipulative. No, it's not. It's not manipulative for me to listen and to understand that what Nitra may need is different than what Courtney needs. What Courtney needs may be different than what LaTanya needs. What LaTanya needs may be different than what Ralph needs. And what Ralph needs may be different than what Tanya needs, okay? Everybody's on the team, but everybody has a different need. As a leader, if I can listen to that and understand that, I can create win-win situations. I can create win-win situations. The same thing is true when I look up the ladder. What does my boss need? What motivates him? What does my boss's boss need? What motivates him or her? And once I understand that, then I can create the plan so that I can give them what they need, so that at the end of the day, when names need to be spoken in rooms that I don't have access to, I can ensure my name is being spoken there. This understanding allows for a more tailored and a more effective interaction, whether it's with colleagues, with clients, or supervisors. And so you have to understand what motivates other people. If all you ever care about is what motivates you, if all you ever care about is what you get out of something, if all you ever care about is that, you're never going to get to the place in your organization that you want to be. You have to understand what motivates other people. It's like the kid who goes to school and the kid's parents won't let him have potato chips, okay? But he knows that Johnny always has potato chips, always brings potato chips to school, okay? Well, Johnny's parents won't let him have chocolate. but your parents will. And so you come to school every day with a little snack thing of chocolate, and you understand that chocolate motivates Johnny. And even though Johnny really likes those potato chips, you offer Johnny the chocolate in exchange for some of the potato chips. You understand what other people need and you create win-win situations. Okay. It's not manipulative. It's understanding these soft skills. And then number 5, let's finish this up. Number 5, you have to learn to embrace change as opportunity. This law positions change not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity to innovate and grow. Somebody put in the comments, I embrace change. If you are a person and you don't embrace change, I challenge you this week to read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? It's an old book, but I challenge you to read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? You have to see change as opportunity. Embracing change requires a proactive mindset that seeks to leverage new situations to your advantage. Change should be seen as an opening for growth and innovation rather than a barrier trying to hold you back. You have to get to the place where you view change as a catalyst for growth and see it as new opportunities rather than a setback. Adopting a proactive attitude towards change enables you to leverage new opportunities that arise from shifting circumstances. For instance, there could be a business that notices a shift in consumer behavior. If they notice that shift in consumer behavior, they can quickly adapt its product offerings to meet these new demands, thus staying ahead of competitors and capturing new market segments. So many people don't like change that they don't actually change until they're forced to. But by the time you're forced to change, the new innovation is old. And so you're always playing catch up. You're playing catch up in your relationships. You're playing catch up on your job. You know, the reason it's there'll be people who will hear this Ed Talk today and they'll go, yeah, that's good. And they won't do anything about it. And 3 years from now, they'll be like, man, I remember that thing you said. I started doing it. And man, look at where I am now. Yeah, because you are a late adopter. And you don't want to be a person who's a late adopter because you don't like change. You have to embrace change. Am I talking about change for change's sake? No. But the only constant thing we can be assured of is Jesus Christ and change. Those are the two things we can be sure of. Jesus is going to be consistent and we're going to consistently have change. Those two things we can count on. Why do some people struggle with this? Why is this law? Why is law number 5 so difficult for some people? Let's talk about it real quick. Number 1, because people have a psychological resistance to change. Okay? Humans naturally seek stability. Humans naturally seek predictability. They predict it in their environment. They predict it in every place they go. And as a result, it provides for them a sense of security and reduces stress. Well, change disrupts this stability and it triggers a stress response. And if you only ever see change as a stress response, you will do everything you can to avoid it. Why? Because change forces you into the fear of the unknown. It forces you into this place of a fear of failure. And it causes you to become discomfort and to have discomfortment associated with stepping outside of your comfort zone. And as a result, that sometimes can be a significant psychological barrier that stops you from embracing change. But if you are a person who does not embrace change, in most organizations, they can't have you at the top. They can't have you in the C-suite. They can't even have you in upper middle management. Why? Because change is a constant. Change is a constant. You can't be the person who wants to work on the production line where the production line works the same way all the time, every time, and nothing ever changes. And then at the same time, want to be paid like the EVP over the entire system. Because there's constantly going to be change, because there's constantly new technology. There's constantly new reasons in which things need to change. So you got to get over the psychological resistance to change. What's the second reason that people struggle with law number 5? Because of habit and routine comfort. Now, we did a whole teaching on habit. I have nothing against forming habits and forming routine. I think you need habits and I think you need routines. You just need them for the current processes that you're working with. They cannot be the barrier for you going forward. Okay? Many people develop routines and habits that make their daily lives more manageable and predictable, and that's good. Change forces individuals to modify or abandon these established patterns, which can be unsettling and challenging. The effort required to learn new skills, to adapt to new environments, or to alter established ways of doing things can sometimes be substantial and daunting. You cannot be a person who's afraid of change, though. I have particular habits and particular routines that I do every day. But when I discover that there's new ways or more effective ways to do it, I am quick to change. I am quick to change. And you have to have the soft skill of being able to adapt and change. Okay. The other reasons is sometimes there's cultural resistance. In some organizations or even in some societal cultures, change is viewed as skepticism. It's perceived as a threat rather than an opportunity. In such environments, maintaining the status quo is often prioritized. We see this in churches all the time. I'm going to say it. We see it in churches all the time. I can't tell you the number of people who have come to our church, Fellowship of Champions Church, saying they wanted something new. Okay. I outgrew where I was, Pastor. This is where I want to be. You're a progressive ministry. We love it here. And then after a while, they go, why don't we have Sunday school? Well, you had Sunday school at the old place. You left there because you didn't like the way they do things. You left. They don't really want to change. They see something new and they want to make the new thing like the old thing because they're so used to the way it used to be. You have to be careful that you're not one of those people who are ingratiated in staying the same, even though you say you won't change. The other reason people struggle with law number 5 is because of a loss of control. Okay. They feel like they're losing control. They don't want to embrace new opportunities because they feel like, wait a minute, I'm losing control here. And people who are control freaks struggle with that. Change can lead to feelings of loss over control over one's circumstances, which can be particularly challenging for those who value autonomy in their work and in their personal life. The uncertainty associated with change can make it difficult to plan for the future, but only if you're a person who operates with a fixed mindset. If you have a mindset that is open, if you have an open mindset, then change doesn't bother you. Okay, let's get to law number 6, our last one. And I just been talking about this. You got to cultivate adaptability. You got to be adaptable. You got to be adaptable. Law number 6 stresses the importance of flexibility and the readiness to modify strategies as needed. Can you change with the times? The ability to adapt to changing circumstances is a critical skill in today's fast-paced world. If you're going to be successful in any organization, you got to be able to adapt. Being adaptable means being open to new ideas. It means being willing to abandon outdated practices. It means to be quick to respond to changes without losing momentum. Can you change without losing momentum? This means being capable of responding swiftly to new challenges as they arrive. Maintaining flexibility and being prepared to shift strategies as circumstances dictate is essential for seizing strategic advantages. My wife and I say it like this all the time. You have to be committed to your outcome, but you must be flexible in your approach. You have to cultivate adaptability. If you will learn to work through and understand these 6 soft skills, I am telling you, it will make an incredible difference in your life. So again, here are our 6 laws that govern success in the workplace. And I'm not telling you what I've read. I'm telling you my lived experience. And I know that it works. Number 1, always empower your leader. Find a way to make sure that the person who is your supervisor is feeling supported by your work efforts. Number 2, do not be afraid to strategically showcase your skills and talents, being aware of all of the challenges that may come with it. the structural barriers, the stereotypes, and the biases associated with being aggressive if you're a woman or a minority. Understanding how similarity bias is working, understanding that sometimes this attitude that we got to be twice as good to be just as equal is sometimes our own self-doing. Okay. And then number 3, seek mastery and excellence. Reject mediocrity. Don't become the workhorse in the organization, though. Whatever hard work you're doing, make sure that others are aware and they know about it. Number 4, understand what motivates other people. Understand what makes the people in your organization tick. Understand what makes your team members tick if you're a team leader. Understand what makes your boss tick. Understand what makes your boss's boss tick. There's been opportunities and times where I understood what my boss's boss needed and I gave it to him when my boss really didn't care. And as a result, I became my boss's boss. It's actually happened twice. I became my boss's boss because I understood what my boss's boss needs were. So make sure you understand what motivates other people, what their passions and aspirations are, what makes them tick, what makes them go, what their needs are, and then develop and devise a plan in which to be able to deliver that while also showcasing your own skills and talents. And then number 5, embrace change as opportunity. See it as opportunity. Don't get freaked out because things have to change. Don't be one of those people who whine and complain because your company has implemented a new software program that everybody has to learn. Be open to learning new things. Be open to change. And as you do that, then you fulfill law number 6, which is cultivating this idea of flexibility and adaptability. Okay? Listen, I'm going to end with this. Hear me when I say this. Each of these laws, all 6 of them, they encourage a proactive, okay, not reactive, but a proactive, strategic approach to personal and professional development, emphasizing the importance of understanding and adapting to one's environment. What you do on one job may or may not have the exact same success on another job. You have to figure out how to nuance these laws. And the way you do it is through practice. So I'm encouraging you. My call to action for you is that you use this podcast as a mirror. What are the areas you can improve on? Of these 6 laws, what could you do better? Of these 6 areas, what is some you could find? Some of you need to find a mentor. Some of you need to embrace what I had to embrace was the idea that I need to spend some time with my colleagues besides in the day. Especially if you're in management, you want to be in management. Some of you need to get to the place where you learn to put some time on your calendar with your manager. Let them know that you want to be a people leader. Let them know you want to have some management responsibility. Maybe they don't know because you've never said anything and they just think you don't want to be. And so you have to begin to work on all of these things. And if you do it, I promise you, you're going to start seeing a difference in your professional career. All right. Listen, I'm going to do what Pastor Sean usually does. Before you go, if you can, tell me one thing you got out of today. Tell me one thing you got out of today, and then we're going to get out of here. I'm at 1 minute and 4 minutes. I got 1 minute left to be at an hour and 5 because I had a 5-minute countdown. So I'm going to be out of here in an hour. Let me know one thing you got out of today's Ed Talk, and we're going to get out of here. One thing you got. I want to remind you while you're doing that you can connect with me on YouTube, on Facebook, or on any other podcast platforms. All right. If you have any questions, you can always send them to me. Let's see. Then it says, she said, I have to embrace change. Yep, you got to embrace it. You have to stop seeing it as something that's, the thing is, don't become the workhorse. You know, that's for people who are smart and talented, is something they have to work on. The people who aren't as talented, the people who aren't as smart, they strive not to be the workhorse. So the people who are smart and talented have to make sure that they don't let themselves become that. Okay. You don't want to be the workhorse in the organization. You want to be the person who is seen as having the good strategic ideas and that the supervisors know who you are. All right, listen, I appreciate you guys. I had last week I said Ed Talk wouldn't be this week. I got my weeks mixed up. We actually won't be here on the 14th. We won't be here next week. I won't be here next Tuesday. So no Ed Talk next Tuesday. If you need to, you go back and you listen to this again. Do whatever you have to do to make sure you are putting yourself in the right place so that you can get promoted, so you can be everything you need to be. All right. Listen, God bless you. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.